So, you're thinking about getting an Advanblack ST fairing for your Lowrider S or your Harley? Well, say no more. This video is going to cover everything that you need to know about the Advanblack ST fairing. This is not a sponsored video whatsoever. I pay for this with my hard-earned money, so this is complete, hopefully unbiased opinions. Well, thanks for tuning into the channel, guys. Today we're going to talk about this Advanblack ST fairing. I had this for about a month now, so I wanted to give you guys my overall thoughts. So we're going to cover a few topics as it relates to this beautiful, beautiful ST fairing. There are probably some things that you're going to want to know before you buy one of these. The topics that we're going to cover here is just installation. How difficult or easy was it to install? We're going to talk a little bit about the quality as far as my perspective goes. We're also going to talk about their customer service, which I think is relevant when we're talking about getting a $1,300 fairing. Lastly, we will talk about the performance of this ST fairing. How does it perform? How does it cut out the wind? Do I have any buffeting? Which I think is probably going to be the most relevant or most interesting topic for you all. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some modifications that I made to this ST fairing that I think makes it look a little bit nicer. I got this little Thunderbolt right here, which adds 10 extra horsepower. So the first question that I want to answer is the installation. How easy was it to install? Prior to getting this ST fairing, when I did some research, most people have said that this fairing was very easy to install, and I have to agree with them. It was super, super simple. If you don't have a lot of wrenching experience, don't worry about it. Advanblack makes it really, really simple. They give you tutorial videos on their YouTube channel, and you can also find some other YouTube videos on how to install the ST fairing for your model Harley. But overall, I thought it was pretty simple. All I had to do was install the bracket, the inner fairing, the outer fairing, the headlight. Most of it goes pretty simple. I would say from start to finish, probably took me about 2 to 3 hours or so to get this dialed in, to get this installed with the new headlight, the windshield. Overall, I thought it was very simple, very straightforward. A helpful tip for you guys, if you're going to install and watch the Advanblack YouTube videos, make sure you're following the most updated one with your model bike. Because from what I can tell, they've been updating their hardware a little bit here and there as they go. If you find some of their older videos, it might not match the hardware that you have. All right, so installation was pretty easy. Let's talk about the quality from my experience, right? Now, granted, I don't have an actual OEM ST fairing to compare it with, but I'm kind of using just my judgment based on what I've had before with the Memphis Chase Road Warrior fairing, and just, my overall experience with Harleys in general and using other parts from other manufacturers. Overall, I think the quality is good, but could be better. And I'll point out some areas where I think it could be better, but paint matching, I think, is probably the best aspect about this fairing. I have a Vivid Black Harley, and the paint matching on this looks fantastic. I didn't see any swirling or any scuff marks when I received the ST fairing, so all in all, good on that front. I was very, very happy with the visual aspect of this fairing. When I opened the box and I saw it, there was that wow factor. So all in all, very good. I also did want to point out most of the hardware, like the brackets, all of those things feel like really good quality. The bolts, for the most part, are good quality. I do think the bolts could be slightly better, but I have very limited experience there, so just take it with a grain of salt. Let's talk about where I think it could be a little bit better. Now, if you see reviews on the ST fairing, most people will talk about these grommets here, the windshield grommets. I've had a few of mine rip, and it's not quite the easiest to install the grommets into the fairing and the windshield. It did take a lot of negotiating and convincing. What I found that was helpful was kind of dunking the grommets into some soapy water, and it went a little bit easier. But the back end of these grommets here, not the front, not the top part that you see, but the back side, did tear a little bit as I was installing this. This one doesn't lay really flush. If I had to nitpick, that's probably one area where I would pick. One of the bolts here, I think it was this guy, or yeah, I can't remember whether it was this one or this one. It didn't thread quite easily, and I didn't want to strip it, so I kept on threading it in and then backing it out, threading it in, backing it out. It wouldn't go in all the way. That's what she said. At the end of it, I just kind of got frustrated and just kind of used my judgment, used my hand tools and threaded it in. And lo and behold, it did go in, but I was a little bit worried that the thread wasn't smooth like some of the other ones. That just might be my experience, but just putting it out there. Like I said, the quality is good. But what I've noticed is that there's a little bit of flex in the fairing, in the outer shell and the inner shell. Again, like I said, I don't have the OEM fairing on me to kind of compare and contrast. But it's just, I was hoping that it would be a little bit more denser material, but there was just a lot of flex on the shell and the inner and the outer shell. So it made me feel like it was a little bit cheaper than what I expected. Let's talk about the customer service. When I ordered the fairing, I did go back and forth with Advanblack about what I needed, what I didn't need. I had to cancel a couple of the parts that I thought I needed from them. They were very, very responsive. Any questions that I had, they were very responsive. When I received the ST fairing, they forgot to send me the headlight bracket bolts. And when I reached out to them, no questions asked, they sent me the 4 bolts required for the headlight. So overall, very responsive. I get that mistakes happen, but really liked how they resolved things quickly. Now this is where it gets fun. Let's talk about the performance. Previous to this, like I said, I had the Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing. The performance, at least from my point of view, on the ST fairing versus the Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing, I wouldn't go as far as say a night and day difference. I would say a pretty drastic difference though. As soon as I took it out for a spin for my test ride, I noticed how much faster I was going. Maybe that's because I had less wind on my body and I felt a little bit more confident or something, but I noticed I was going about like 10 miles an hour faster than I normally would on my local roads. I do think a part of that is attributed to just the aerodynamics of this the fairing. It does feel like it's cutting through the wind really effectively. I don't feel a whole lot of wind on my chest or on my body. I do feel a little bit of wind on my outer arms. Overall, the wind protection that I get from this ST fairing versus my Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing, I would say a big, big difference. A big difference. Now it's much more comfortable to go on the highway with this ST fairing going 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. It just feels buttery smooth on the highway. Whereas before, with the Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing, I was fighting a lot of wind fatigue or wind buffeting. It didn't feel as aerodynamic as this ST fairing. Performance-wise, huge upgrade as far as I'm concerned versus my versus my Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing. So I am extremely, extremely happy about that. I feel more confident on the highway, going much faster. I don't feel as tired. I took this on a 200-mile road trip, actually a work trip, and I took this guy with the ST fairing. Didn't feel very fatigued, didn't feel tired. I still felt very refreshed and energetic. So all in all, I'm really, really happy with the ST fairing. The last thing that I wanted to mention about, the performance in terms of wind buffeting for me, this is probably where most people will have some questions. I still have the stock windshield. I believe it's like the 8-inch windshield, whatever it comes with from Advanblack. For me, I am coming in at 5.8. It has drastically, drastically reduced the wind buffeting. I can go about 80 miles an hour on the highway with my visor up, with my helmet visor up, and I have no issues. Whereas before, with my Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing, if I was on the highway above anything above like 65, close to about 70, I would have to keep my windshield or my visor down just because of all of the wind hitting me. This has basically taken care of all of my wind buffeting. I still get a little bit of wind on my helmet, but it feels a lot smoother to me, and it's not like that sharp focus wind. So I really have enjoyed the ST fairing. I wanted to talk about just one thing that's particular to me. I had the bunking crash guards, and I know that they make support brackets that are supposed to go on these 2 bolts here and attaches to the windshield or the fairing, and it's not compatible with the crash guard. And so I tried getting the Harley bracket that has a mount specific for their crash guard, and it wasn't compatible with my bunking crash guards. So I was a little bit bummed out. I thought I would have to remove this crash guard altogether. I looked around on the interwebs and I found this support bracket on eBay that goes from the neck, I don't know if you can see that, to the inner side of the windshield. So now it provides a little bit more structure, provides a little bit more support to the fairing so that it won't flex, and it just goes right in between the neck bolt and the inner part of the fairing. So now, if you look at it from the front point of view, you don't see that gaudy, the support bracket that comes from those 2 bolts onto the bottom of the fairing. It looks a lot sleeker to me. And the best part is I get to keep my bunking crash guards. So if you're in my situation, I'll leave a link to the support bracket. I believe this is specific for the Lowrider S and the ST, right? So you can see here, there I have one over here and one over on the other side. So that's the video for today, guys. Just wanted to introduce you all to my Advanblack ST fairing. I would buy this again in a heartbeat. I know that there's some cheaper options out there. I thought about it and I just said, hey, like, this is a pivotal part for my bike. I don't want to make any, like, shortcuts. So glad that I went with that route. That's going to be it for me today, guys. I'm going to bounce out of here. Happy 4th of July, by the way. Today is 4th of July. And if you see in this parking lot, man, looks like people had a little party out here. Some burnouts over here. And some fireworks. And they left their trash out here. Is there a trash can? Yeah, it looks like people had a good time out here. And they left their trash. Alright guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. Thanks for tuning into this video, and until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.